Hi everyone, so my name is Maria Leonard and today I want to talk to you about the Akashic Records and how you can benefit from the Akashic Records, what it is, and you're going to experience an Akashic Records healing meditation by the end of the session. I hope you have a paper and a pen ready because I would like this to be interactive and I would like you to experience this more personally. I'll explain a little bit more of that later on, so that once we have completed the session, giving yourself a few days to notice the changes that you've experienced from that. Any questions you have, feel free to type them in the chat box. So while I'm speaking, I will refer to your questions and reply back to them. Sounds good? All right, perfect. So let's start with understanding the term, what Akashic Records means. So it comes from a Sanskrit term, which means Akash, and Akash means ether, space. So we have the four elements here on planet Earth, which is fire, air, water, and earth. These four elements, we can use our five senses to understand them, to work with them, and to benefit from them. However, the fifth element, which is ether or space, we're able to access it through our consciousness because it's not a tangible space. You cannot use your five senses to access it. You need your sixth sense. And throughout history, almost every individual who's achieved a level of mastery, whether it's through art, whether it's through music, whether it's on a spiritual journey, they have been able to access their own Akashic records. Now, it is very much explained nowadays, which I want to go a little bit on the superficial understanding of Akashic records and the depth of it. The superficial version is you use your Akashic records to connect to your past lives. That is a very limited understanding. Because we are using the term records, we believe that there are certain books, I'll talk about that in a bit, and you are connecting to that which is coming from your past lives. Now let's assume someone does not believe in past lives. Are they not going to be able to access this? Are they not going to benefit from this energetic space? Which is why it's necessary not to define Akashic records only for past life reasons. So the Akashic records was specifically and first coined in the beginning of the 20th century. Before that, people were using it as a form of, an astral plane or connecting to a divine consciousness, connecting to information. And in certain religious books, such as the Bible, it's been specified as a term called the Book of Life. So if you've heard any of these terms of the Book of Life, it basically means every single experience that you've had, every thought that you've had, every decision that you've made in your life, everything is recorded. Nothing goes away. It is all stored in an energy field, which you have the ability to access it. So the first person who used the term Akashic Records was Rudolf Steiner, who was an Austrian who was interested in the mind, the body, the soul, in education, and combining all the spiritual world with fundamental educational techniques. So this is a little bit about the history and where it came from. Now, before the 20th century, as I mentioned, those who were clairvoyant, those who had psychic abilities, they were able to perceive deeper levels of your aura, deeper levels of your soul, to give you an understanding, why are you here? What is your purpose? What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to learn? And what are your karmic challenges? Later on from Rudolf Steiner, there was a powerful psychic. They were calling him the sleeping prophet. The reason why they used to call him that was because he was able to go into trance, and this person's called Edgar Casey. he was an American, he was able to go into a trance-like state and to retrieve information and to give you medical advice, although he was not a doctor. And then people used to get treated by the way and the things that he was receiving for them. And he would also help them on their relationships, on karmic relationships, on money issues. And he was apparently, he is the one who has the most archived clairvoyant information. So all the messages that he had received for his patients, remember, this is after, it was in the beginnings of the 1900s. So you can imagine everything was corresponded through letters. So it used to take time for him to receive the information. Let's say I would send him a letter. A while later, he would get the name and the problem, and he would go into a trance state, and his assistant would write what he was saying, and he would never recall what he was perceiving, which there is a term for this called channeling, because he was so deep into that state that he was accessing your truth without any emotional attachment. This is what makes one psychic more accurate than the other, one medium more accurate than the other, one clairvoyant accurate than the other. The main thing when you want to do any form of intuitive work, we will touch on that a little bit as well today, is having emotional objectivity, not having an emotional attachment to the information that you're receiving. And since Edgar Cayce had the ability to go into a state, in a brainwave state, such as a theta brainwave or a deeper one, he did not have any kind of emotional connection. So he was just perceiving what was coming to him. So these are some examples of people who use the Akashic Records from a spiritual perspective, from a healing perspective, from an intuitive reading perspective. So how can we benefit from the Akashic Records? And what does it hold, and what I do personally with the Akashic Records? So my background, I never studied Akashic Records. I was guided to access it naturally without even knowing, until later on the descriptions and the information that I was receiving came to be called that I am actually accessing the Akashic Records of an individual. So I was not trained on that. And I did not have any form of a teacher to guide me through it. Over years of practice and receiving information, validating the information, of course, and having people to learn to access it and to be able to help themselves heal was what ended up becoming the journey of what I call right now life scripting. So just a bit of a background on what life scripting is. It is a modality that you learn, that I use, where in one of the states of using this technique is to access your Akashic Records. For one, healing beliefs and patterns. For two, healing any cellular memories that are stuck from traumas. 3, from healing any karmic baggage or karmic relationships from any karmic debt. 4, being able to be more intuitive and to access, if you like, and if you believe in ascended masters and angels and archangels and spirit teams. 5, being able to manifest consciously. So let's refer back to the word records again. Why is it called records? From a theosophical perspective, theosophy is a form of an esoteric knowledge which believes and educates people on understanding their mind, body, and soul, and the journey of that as a human being or as a sentient being. So the records basically mean, as we mentioned earlier, everything that you have gone through in life is stored in your energy field. And from that, you develop choices, karmic contracts, or any kind of contract, because sometimes the word karmic is misused as something negative. Karmic is a neutral word. It doesn't mean that this is a bad thing. It means something has happened and something you're going to experience in order to balance it out as a soul in your experience. So it's worth reminding ourselves that karma is not a negative word, and it is more of a neutral word, and it can be both positive and negative. So when you have experienced certain things, and as a soul, you are here on earth to evolve and explore and grow and move forward as a being. So you choose to have certain contracts with certain individuals. Those certain individuals, from a fundamental level, are your family members. So you choose who those family members are because you have a certain lesson of growth with them. Sometimes the growth will be painful, sometimes it will be pleasant, sometimes it will be a mix of both. And then you have a secondary level of karmic contracts, which can be your siblings. So we have the parents, then we have the siblings, if you have any. Then you move into relatives. So your whole community of relatives, so the DNA structure of your ancestors. And then you move forward into having friends. Then you move forward into having lovers, partners, and then children. And this way you create like a ripple effect. So imagine in one lifetime, the number of people you are connected to, whether you like it or not sometimes. And the number of people that you're learning and you're growing from. So when an individual has a certain challenge in a certain relationship, so we're now focusing a little bit on relationship here through an Akashic Records perspective. When you have a certain challenge from a relationship perspective, then accessing your Akashic Records, either through someone who can give you intuitive guidance, this is an option, where they could tell you why this relationship is there, what is the benefit of this relationship, is it time to move forward and create a new relationship, how much forgiving is needed, is it easy to forgive? So there are so many complex questions about that. And you end up learning about the fundamentals, learning about the thoughts, the emotions, the beliefs that you have understood from that reading. And then you go on into your Akashic Records for a healing journey. So in life scripting, the facilitator takes you on that journey. You'll experience that today, takes you on a journey in a certain method where you are connected to that field and certain thoughts and emotions are being deactivated or activated for you. So in life scripting, we use the term deactivations in a form of deleting or erasing, and we use activations in a form of anchoring and bringing it back to your memory. Both of these two aspects are necessary for your growth. You do need to deactivate and you do need to activate at the same time. So for example, you would go and deactivate any karmic ties in order to help you with the process to move forward from an individual that has been holding you back in life. And I was speaking to a client today, and I expressed that as much as you think logically to be in a relationship, whatever relationship this is, whether it's family, whether it's platonic, whether it's romantic, there is really no logic behind it. You have a certain attachment, a certain way of being drawn to them. Now, from a psychological perspective, we might interfere with the idea of inner child, with the idea of what you have learned from age of 0 to 7, and the familiarity. So we do bring in these information. But it's interesting because even when an individual knows these things, they still end up, if they have a soul agreement and a soul connection that they still need to learn a lesson from, then they still go through it, no matter how logically they understand why they have this certain attachment to an individual. So when you are working beyond the mind, beyond the mental logic that we have in the left brain specifically, and you're accessing deeper states of consciousness without even being hypnotized. Although it is usually stated that if someone is under a deep trance state, then they must be hypnotized, because that's a term again that is being used. But the method that does not necessarily mean it falls under hypnotherapy category. So the method that I use in life scripting does not involve hypnotherapy. It involves shifting the energetic frequency that you're in. Your brainwave frequency starts to go, as we said, into a deeper states, where one of the most common things that people say after a session is they did not realize the time that had passed. They usually either say this was a 5 or 10-minute experience, whereas they were actually lying down for about 45, 50, or even an hour. So usually when you're unable to determine the time, and if it feels really quick and it's passed by, then most of the time this is an indication you went really deep, so well done, and you were able to surrender and go into that state of higher state. Now, the facilitator who takes you into your Akashic Records is taking you on a higher plane, different dimensions, not the physical dimension that you are in right now. And you're accessing that dimension, and depending on your level of sensitivity, you could see, you could feel, you could hear, or you could just know what's going on. So in this work, everything I do is by verbal commands. So I state it out loud. So there is no silence in the work, which you'll again, as I said, experience today. You're actually hearing what we are working on, what we are clearing, what we are activating, and where you are in your Akashic Records. And by doing that, your subconscious mind becomes more receptive. Your cellular memory, which is the memory of your cells, which is a phenomena that doctors still find it quite surprising to understand. How can we remember certain things? And this is specific for transplant patients, where when they have a new organ transplanted in their body, they end up changing their habits, they end up changing their beliefs, beliefs in a sense of they could all of a sudden become very confident if they were not confident enough, or they could believe in a thought that they didn't believe before that. So there are so many reoccurrences of such a thing. And this is a specific example because you actually have a different cellular body, a different organ being put within yours, and it's being blended with yours. And this is nothing to do with the brain, because it's not about the brain, it's about the energy field. It's the cells having that frequency. So when you're also working with your Akashic Records, you're tapping into a cellular memory, which is why sometimes people feel different sensations in different parts of their body. They might feel a certain heaviness, and then that heaviness just leaves their body. They might feel a sense of lightness. And all of these things indicate, of course, always we want to wait for an experience to be manifested in your reality to prove its work, right? So when you end up having those experiences, and then after a few days, there are changes in your thoughts, in your emotions, and in your reactions, then you know something has been shifted in your Akashic field. Am I okay so far? Are we clear? All right. There's only one person that I can see, so I'm assuming that everyone else agrees. So let's dive a bit into what the Akashic Records chambers are according to life scripting. So remember, you could have the traditional way of an Akashic Records reading or a healing. I haven't heard much on the healing part. It's very rare, but the reading is more common. So usually there is a method where a person recites a certain prayer for them to ask for access and permission to access the person's Akashic Records field. This is one of the traditional ways that whoever has studied Akashic Records traditionally, this is what they've learned. In life scripting, there is no such prayer at the beginning. There are certain energetic work and certain energy commands that we do. One, to protect your energy and to protect the facilitator's energy, because it's like you're accessing a new building, a building which has many floors, and you're gonna experience and see, as we said, or feel things that you might have not expected in both light and dark. So the intention is for you to, as a facilitator, to have the ability to navigate that experience for the person and have an intention of why you're accessing it. What do you want to learn? What do you want to clear? What do you want to heal? And from there on, you go to different chambers. For today, I will be focusing on one specific chamber. In life scripting, we have 4. I'll just mention their names. There is the healing chamber, which is what we're going to access today. There is the Hall of Records, which is traditionally seen as a library. If you type in Akashic Records, you'll always see a picture of a library. The third one is a Master's Round Table, which is where you connect to spirit teams and guides. And the fourth one is a timeline chamber, where you're accessing different timelines from the past, the present, and the future. So I teach this in a life scripting training, which is a duration of 2 days. But for today, we want to access the healing chamber to focus on 3 things you want to deactivate. 3 things that you want to let go, and 1 thing you want to activate. Okay, so in total, we're going to be focusing on 4 different energies. I'll be giving you some time and guidance on what to do before we go into the journey. So as I said, we want to access that field to connect to your higher self. And we want your higher self in collaboration with your soul. So my terminology is there is a soul and there is a higher self. Some people combine these 2 as one. I see them as separate. Separate in a sense as level of maturity. So the soul has memories from different lifetimes, imprints, trauma, karmic memories that when a person is born at a certain date and time through an astrological understanding, they bring in those memories with them. So this is a very superficial example to share, but just to give you an idea, you might have 2 babies in front of you, and the baby still does not have the ability to talk. You look at one's face, you can feel that they're so joyful and happy. So you say, oh, he's a happy baby. And you look at another baby, and they're just so grumpy and sad. Now, logically, you would wonder, you haven't even seen life. You're probably a month old or a 2-month-old child. Why is one of you so happy and why is the other one so grumpy? So I'm giving here a superficial understanding where it's not necessarily, as what psychologists would say, everything is just stemming from your childhood and then sharing itself, its values and its belief in your adulthood. There are things before that, which is where spiritual knowledge comes in. So you could be having certain attributes, personality traits, gifts and talents, parts of your understanding, your intelligence that you haven't accessed yet. You know, when they say we're just using a very small fraction of our brain, of our consciousness, it's similar to what we're sharing right now, where the more you learn to access your Akashic Records, you're able to access to your soul and your higher self, which will bring you more information, more understanding about your situation in life. And this is not in a very fruitile way of, oh, should I buy this shoe or should I buy that shoe? It's more about, okay, this person, what is this person teaching me today? What is this person supposed to do for me? What am I supposed to do for that person? So learning more about your growth. And my belief is you can have lesser challenges if you are able to understand the depth and the truth of a situation. I'm saying lesser challenge, not no challenges, but lesser. For example, if you were to see more of a truth about a person, again, going back to the relationship example, if you're able to see more of a truth about a person, seeing that this person has the habit of being a liar. They want to lie all the time. Either they're aware or unaware. Either they do it deliberately or without any intention. When you see it from that way, you become more aware of it. You become more conscious. So you will know how to have and handle a certain relationship with this kind of an individual, rather than still blindly dealing with them in a certain way where you end up feeling unnecessarily disappointed. So this is what I mean by having lesser challenges. When you can understand yourself better, understand your relationships better, understand your purpose better, and remember, it's not just one layer. You end up having layers that you unfold all the time based on your level of consciousness and your maturity right now. When I give a reading, sometimes I tell individuals that, well, most of the time, that please do not come for a reading earlier than 3 months or earlier than 6 months. Allow yourself to understand the message and develop new habits and thoughts and actions. And of course, see if what I'm saying is true or not, validate it, and then come to see a new layer and learn a new lesson from that. So, as we said, you will naturally develop intuitive abilities and become more and more objective when you have access to your Akashic Records, because you see the truth of what things are, rather than only seeing it from your logical mind or from your human experience or from your unconscious traumatic mind. Making sense? So, as we were mentioning earlier, that we want to look at 3 things to deactivate today and 1 thing to activate. Now, what you will be doing is, on your piece of paper, I would like you to write down, so I'm going to give you some options. Either you write down an emotion that you want to deactivate, so such as, I want to deactivate anger. Okay? I want to deactivate frustration. That is option 1. You can mix and match in these 3. We're talking about deactivations here. Or you deactivate a thought. Now, the thought is a belief that you probably have discovered. Now, if you're going to discover more about your beliefs, then I would advise you to have a life scripting training or a session to understand more of that. But from now, the amount that you know about yourself already, you look at a thought that you feel and remind yourself that it's being reoccurring over and over again, that is frustrating you. So for example, I can't do this. Life is so difficult. No one really loves me. The person that I love doesn't love me back. So these are sentences, right? Some of these sentences are branches of your thought, of your core thought, and some of them are actually the core of your thought, which is creating branches. So if you have such a thing like, I'm not enough, I can't do it, I'm not loved, these can be very core beliefs, very core thoughts. And based on that, you create these branches of, see, my spouse doesn't love me, my children treat me horribly, because the thought is always going back to, I'm not loved. Or, they're not hiring me, they're not promoting me, I'm not going on my career ladder, I'm not earning more money. It could be the thought that I'm not enough. So we don't have to go so deep because we're exploring here today. As much as you know, as I said, focus on emotion and thought. Pick 3, write them down. So number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, activating something that you want. Again, either an emotion you want to activate or a thought you want to activate. Now, usually if you want to activate a thought, it can be similar to an affirmation. I am loved by everyone. My life is amazing. Everything is working out for me. So I need you, and this is going to be your evidence paper, and you're going to give me feedback after a week, okay? I'm going to type in my email address here. You're going to give me feedback after this, where these 4 things that you've written down, the 3 things that you're ready to deactivate and let go as much as you can, and the 4 things that you want to activate and harness in yourself, in a week, I would want you to evaluate it daily from 0 to 10. 0 meaning this is not there anymore. 10, this is strongly there. So obviously we are hoping and we are intending that the deactivations reach to 0 and the activation reach to 10. And how are you going to evaluate this? Every day by looking at it and observing your life. How are you thinking? How are you feeling? And how are you reacting? So I'm going to stay quiet for 2-3 minutes. And I just want you to write down on your piece of paper those 4 things. And when you're done, I'm going to tell you how we're going to go about this. You can write in the chat box because this is being recorded. Okay, I'm going to share this statement because I think it will benefit everyone. Is sensitivity necessarily a negative emotion? You're right, it is a neutral thing. This, I believe, so in life scripting, we focus on the power of words. So the words that we use, we need to understand the meaning behind it. Sensitivity in itself is neutral. You could be sensitive in a form of being compassionate. You could be sensitive in a way of having an emotional imbalance and crying at every single thing that someone tells you. So if I were to deactivate this, I would say, focus on what sensitivity brings in you. Is it overwhelm? Is it frustration? Is it feeling like a burden? Is it getting frustrated all the time? Or if we look at it as an activation, activating your ability to sense the truth in other people. Does that make sense? So it's a combination of both, depending on how you use it and why you use it and why you have it within yourself. And another thing to remember about sensitivity, from an energetic perspective, that means the person has become more and more refined. So they can feel that subtleness that's going on. So usually those who are in the energy world, they are sensitive naturally because they have to feel what's happening beyond the material world. So if they don't know how to manage that, they can get overwhelmed. If they don't know how to navigate that sensitivity, it will be extremely frustrating. And vice versa. Once they know how to navigate that, turning it on and off like a switch, then that is a strength for them because that can give them an indication of what is going on around them. So you would enter a room and you would feel the vibe is not good enough. So you're like, okay, why should I even be here? Sometimes we have those instincts, right? But we don't listen to them. And we're like, no, I should be here. It's not a good idea to leave. I must stay here. And then after a while, you feel frustrated and upset and you get sick, maybe in an extreme case. So listen to those nudges, and by trial and error, you end up knowing which one is your intuition, which one is actually coming from fear. So sensitivity is not a bad thing. Just learn how to navigate it. So this is a 1-hour thing. We have 25 minutes left. So the meditation is going to be, well, it's actually a healing session. but we're going to call it a healing meditation. It's going to be between 15 minutes to 20 minutes. So once everyone's done with their 4 things on their list, I just need one thing from you: to remember what you've written in number 1, what you've written in number 2, and etc. 3 and 4. Because I don't know what you've written, but I'm going to deactivate number 1. And when I say that, each one of you, and this is how we make it personalized, each one of you will focus on the thought that you've put in. And we're actually clearing that. The energy knows where to go. For this experience, you can choose to sit up straight with your spine straight, palms on the lap throughout the experience, or you can choose to lie down, again, palms facing upwards. So once you're all ready, if you don't mind, send me a thumbs up so we can start with the healing session. Okay. All right, everyone. So just make sure that you're fully comfortable. Remember your sensitivity level, as we said, you could feel, see, hear, or just know. It doesn't matter what thoughts you have, just allow them to come and go. I would be navigating it for you anyway. I just need you to remember what you've written in those 4 things. So you bring your intention and focus on them. All right, let's start. So please take 3 deep breaths through the nose. Take another 3 deep breaths. And bring your full focus towards your heart. See or feel a beautiful golden light radiating out of your heart. Covering every cell of your body. And all your energy bodies. You are now in a deep golden ball of light. This fully protects you and heals you and gives you full clarity. You will now gently start floating in your golden ball, leaving the room that you're in, leaving the city, and leaving planet Earth. Passing through all the layers of existence. Becoming lighter and more relaxed. I'm going to count now from 5 to 1, and when I say 1, you'll be deeply connected to your Akashic Records. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are now deeply connected to your Akashic Records, and you'll be guided to go to the healing chamber, a room made of crystals and minerals and sacred symbols. You will lie down on the healing bed, and first we will cleanse your energy lines, your meridians, with pure golden light, starting from the left side of your body. Moving towards the middle. Cleansing the spine with pure golden light. And moving now towards the right side. We're now going to first deactivate number 1 from your list. Deactivating it completely from your subconscious mind, from your cells and your DNA. Allow the energy to do its work, clearing any resistance to deactivating your number 1. We're now moving to number 2, deactivating it completely for you, from your cells, your DNA, your subconscious mind. Moving now towards the 3rd one on your list, deactivating it completely from your cells and your DNA. Deactivating it from your subconscious mind. No matter how long you've had it within, you're ready to release it. We're now moving into the fourth one on your list, and we're going to activate it, bringing in the energy from your crown, activating it in all your chakras, all your cells, allowing you to vibrate on the same level of this activation to manifest it and make it possible in your life. We're now integrating all the new energies within your aura. The healing is now complete. And you will gently go back inside your golden bowl, leaving your Akashic Records, thanking your higher self and your soul, and gently coming back to earth, going deep inside the heart of the earth into the core, inside the beautiful diamond crystal cave. Ground yourself, bringing your focus towards the bottom of your feet. Creating deep golden roots. Gently now, bring your energy up from your roots towards your feet, towards your knees, the base of your spine, traveling up from your spine towards your heart. Reaching towards the throat, filling it up with golden energy. Going up towards the forehead, gently activating your intuition. bringing you more clarity in your life. And bringing the energies up towards your crown. Take 3 deep breaths and open your eyes. Let me know when you're back. So as I mentioned earlier, I need you to keep that piece of paper that you wrote the 4 things, and every day just put a number next to it. 0 meaning you don't have that anymore, you don't feel it, you don't think it. And 10, the extreme is you feel and think it a lot. It can go up and down, it might fluctuate a little bit, but please give me feedback in a week's time. So basically next Wednesday. My email is info@IamMariaLeonard.com. I'm just typing it in the chat box for everyone as well to keep me posted. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email me. I assume many of you are in Abu Dhabi. I'll be in Abu Dhabi next Saturday if you want to have a session. There's also going to be a Law of Attraction, Akashic Records workshop Saturday evening. So you can contact Illuminations about that and they'll give you all the details. I just have a few slots for one-to-one as well if you would like to join. I hope you have a lovely Wednesday and I hope you enjoyed this. I'll wait for any questions, and if not, I guess we're done for the day. Let me know if you have any questions. You could feel a bit lightheaded. You're welcome, thank you, you're welcome. So it's worth drinking a bit more water. For that specific question, please email me because it's not relevant for this. Just send me an email and I'll answer that, okay? Because it's quite complex. And you might have also very vivid dreams tonight, okay? Because once you access that antenna, you could start to receive so much information coming in. I'm really excited to meet all of you or some of you when I come to Abu Dhabi. You can do this meditation in the morning, absolutely. So once it's up, I believe on the Illuminations YouTube channel, I'm not sure how fast they're going to upload it, but it will be there. And it would help you to focus on those 4 different things. If you feel dizzy when you meditate, that means you are actively opening up a lot your higher chakras and you need to learn to ground more. So grounding, if there is lack of grounding in your meditations, maybe unconsciously or maybe it's not enough, that is why there is a sense of dizziness, because you're connecting to the field and it's spinning. Okay, so feel free to send me questions. I will do my best to answer them in less than 24 hours for all of you. Thank you so much, and thank you for joining. Have a lovely, lovely evening. God bless you. Take care.